Well, thanks for joining me for the morning. And I have Member of Parliament for Ablekuma Central in the studio, Theophilus Tetechai. How are you, sir?
Thank you.
And also with the MPP is Richard Nyama is my next guest. How are you?
I'm good.
What are you watching on your iPad?
I'm reading.
Who broke the iPad for you? Your children? Don't tell me.
Yeah.
Well, so please, if you want to join us throughout the next 1 hour, all you need to do is to make sure you log on to our Facebook page, join us on TV, and also the handle we have on Twitter, join us on TV. Okay, let me start with you. There have been efforts to make sure we have a boost in energy, and we're going to do a review of what has happened, especially for the week. And there was this deal with ENI, and following that, General Electric had promised or had also signed an agreement to make sure they put in place a capacity of 1,200 as far as generation is concerned. What do you make of these efforts? Just on the front page of the Daily Graphic also, we have 350 power project to take off at Boom. We've had the Vice President cut and sword for that.
Thank you very much. This clearly shows government's commitment in ensuring that...
That's political talk.
Oh, no, it is not political.
That's political
talk.
communication, no. Richard, Theophilus. You're on the floor.
Yeah, it shows government commitment to ensuring that we have enough energy as a country. I believe that over the years, as a country, we failed totally in ensuring that we match our energy needs with the population in terms of how development is also spreading. But it is not too late. Once under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has seen the need to invest heavily in the energy sector, which is very costly to the country, but we have to do it because energy is supreme. Apart from education, health, I think energy is one area that as a country we need to really put in our resources. So it is the duty of government to ensure that our energy needs are really upgraded to a standard where we'll be having a surplus, so that in cases where we have rehabilitation of equipments and so on and so forth, it will not once again derail our energy needs as a country. So government is forthright. It is very costly. The people of this country are also suffering as a result because we are all going through the problems of the day in terms of the energy, lack of energy supply to our various homes, offices, and industrial hubs. And it is very costly to the nation. We are losing a lot of revenue. Industries are folding up as a result. People are being thrown out of job as a result. So if you look at the repercussions of energy shortfalls that we are having as a country, it's really, really hurting us as a country. And the only thing the government can do is to invest heavily, even if that will cost us some of our developmental needs in certain areas. We have to do it. Because when that is done, I believe that the others can follow later.
You love the strategy. These agreements ultimately will help improve supply as far as we're concerned.
Roland, supply you and I know. The issue, I think the government is confusing the issues. It is all this going on is just trying to make Ghanaians feel something is being done.
By your estimation, nothing is being done.
Absolutely nothing. Truth is this: we have a generating capacity of 2,850. Our generation need is about 1,900. There's a surplus of about 1,000 megawatts. If you listen to Gridco, VRA, and the rest, they are giving excuses such as maintenance, which have been going on for the last 4 or 5 years. The same excuses. They've been giving excuses, and if you listened to the PRC lady, Nana Yajantua, seriously, She's become the PRO and excuse giver.
She's the PR boss for the PURC.
No, not the PURC. She's become a PRO for government, making excuses as to why we will not have generation, why we will not have electricity.
That's a bit unfair, isn't it?
Oh, she said it last week that we should not expect any solution. That we are in a crisis. We should not expect any solution.
That's the truth.
Right
It's
now.
reflecting the views
but let me tell you, there's
the agencies.
You see, that is a government living in self-denial, or a government that
She's not a government member. She works for a regulatory agency.
She is, please. She is. She, together with the government, keep giving us reasons as to why they cannot solve the problem. We know. Now, when she gave the excuse in 2013, in 2014, repeated it, that because of high cost of crude, the government had to do load shedding, and that we could not buy at $120 a barrel to run the thermal plants. We have moved on to a situation where now crude is selling at about $45 to $48 a barrel. Over 60–70% reduction in the price of crude. And we still have the same excuse of crude being given to us. Meanwhile, the same government in the same breath tells me and you, oh, that there is a windfall in the prices, or the difference between the world price and what we are buying. So let's leave it there and use it to pay our debts. The debts who cause them. When you overspend your budget by $8 billion in 2010.
Well, we do understand all those concerns that you raised. But the debts are there.
The debts are there.
And they need to be paid.
You know what? If I was
do you think we're being realistic
about? If I was
about
a smart government, because I'm telling you that there are debts, other debts that are being postponed and which you and I will pay. If I was this government and this president, I would tell you that, you know what, BDCs, you can hold on a little longer. I would use the windfall to provide thermal crude for the thermal plants to run, because I'm buying the same crude from you. Okay, I'm buying the same crude from you, so sustainably we'll be able to provide power. There will be jobs in the system, and I'll be able to pay you back. Currently, as you and I are speaking, you know the agreement government is gone into with the mining companies. We know that in Obuasi, over 6,000 mine workers have been laid off. There's going to be more. The government is saying that reduce your energy use by some 5–6% further, which means.
But that's just partially the case. It's also because the prices of gold in the international market is reducing.
Oh, so let's shut down.
No, listen. And so as a result of that, if you want your operational costs to reduce, ultimately, that will also have an influence on what level of pricing, based on the profit you get.
Why don't you just ask them to shut down? Because the prices are down, we are not getting anything out of it.
But businesses do that. When they are not getting the adequate profits or windfalls or the right markups.
Roland, I'm on the same page with you. So what I'm saying is that do your cost-benefit analysis. If you think the mine should shut down completely, let them shut down.
Are you suggesting in any way that government is saying all the mines should shut down? Or it's just because the mining companies have found out, as far as their liquidity issues are concerned, and within the atmosphere as they operating currently, they see that the variables and the factors, the factors are not good enough. As a result of, they need to reduce the operation costs.
No, you are increasing their operation costs.
You have same operational costs. You have same operational costs, but how much worth your end product is not the same as it was a few months ago.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, sir.
You are operating a generating system that has to shut down every 2 days.
Sure.
Let the workers go home and come back the other 2 days. Tell me that your operation cost is not going to increase.
I accept that. I'm saying that's only partially the case.
That is partially the case. As you and
so you can't make it a whole attribution.
No, there's a fact. The fact is that the government is asking the mines, and they are not happy about it. Mind you, it's not like the mines are asking it. So government is asking or forcing them to go into an agreement, and they are not happy about it. That's the point I am making. I am saying that at the end of the day, Ghanaians will further suffer. If you are a government committed to resolving the Dumsor situation, The 365 megawatts you are putting up on the front page of the Daily Graphic today wouldn't matter. You will channel that power or that money into providing crude for the system to run. When you run the economy and you take your taxes and you take all that you need, you can put up this at the blink of an eye.
Richard, that's why you're not president.
That's why I'm not president, and that's why he will have to be going, because he's caused us a mess. He goes to church and prophesies that he would end this year. And then in another breath, he says that, no, I didn't prophesy. I thank you and I thank your station and, for constantly playing it on the TV. That the president, when he turned around and said that he didn't prophesy that he would stop doing so, was speaking untruth. What kind of president is that that tells us that, look, sacrifice. We have reduced fuel from 120 barrels to $45 a barrel. Oh, you buy the bullets. And yet the economy is sinking. And you are telling me that you are bringing in 1,000 megawatts. These are private projects. When they come in, they would tax you and I. They will take the money. It's not meant for the government. So if you are shifting your problem right now to a private businessman making profit and making money in future as the solution to my problem right now, please excuse me.
Richard, I think you're mixing the issues in this whole argument. But
what is it I'm mixing?
Okay, don't worry. I'll come to you on the next leg. You know, we've come to the point where we've not had adequate solutions to our energy needs, and I have raised questions on this very platform that, well, what is the strategy? Are we looking at the causal effects and so treating them for the medium to long term? And I feel that that's what we're doing, putting in place over the next 2, 3, 5 years. We have stable power production as well as efficient distribution, perhaps for the next 10 years or 15 years. But in the short term, what's the strategy? How are we making sure the business don't relocate to neighboring countries, the businesses don't shout down because of increasing operational costs and not getting high-end profits at the end of the day?
Thank you very much. I think over some years now, we've looked at the short-term measures, and it has not helped. Because as a country, we are growing at a very faster pace. You quite remember, during the time of the NPP, when Dr. Reku Bebe went in for these machines that we termed as toy machines, it didn't help. And within the energy sector, you don't need short-term measures. You don't need that.
And you feel, your government feels that that's what we've been doing
and that is what
over the decades.
Yes, and that is what is causing us today. So we need to invest heavily in the energy sector so that it can last us for a very long time to come. Okay? And that is the measures that current government, or under His Excellency the President, is doing. If the President says, look, this year we will ensure that our energy needs will be met, and that doing so will be a thing of the past. It doesn't mean one day. But the question is, are there processes put in place? Are we seeing things being put in place that will, in the long run, inure to the benefit of the people of this country? And that is what we are seeing today. So for me, government is on point. Government is doing what it needs to do to ensure that as a country, our energy needs are met. In the energy sector, we need private people to put in capital. As a country, the same people as we are complaining of rising government debts. And how are these things coming about? It's as a result of the government spending huge sums of money into infrastructural development, which will be to the benefit of the citizenry in the long term and in the short term as well. So government needs to invest heavily in these projects, which are a very huge cost to the people of this country. So for me, we should continue investing in the energy sector to ensure that the coming 10, 20 years, the issues of energy will be a thing of the past. Because look, as a country, if you see the rate at which we are developing, if we actually don't sit down to look at how to structure our energy sector to meet the long-term goals,
Well, that is good.
It will get
but in
to
the
a
short
point
term,
we'll be like the
Nigerians. The enormity of the energy crisis has resulted in a number of factors, and some of them include the relocation of businesses. Businesses are actually not meeting their targets in many respects, and even we've seen it in the decline in the variables of the economy. Exactly. As a result of that overall growth, what we call the GDP, and you are an economist in many respects. No. Okay. But at the end of the day, we've seen it decline
going down
in many respects. Yeah. If these continue, ultimately they tend to affect the medium to long term. But I mean, that is how I see it.
Yeah. But let's look at the end benefits.
To who?
Okay.
At the end of
for us as a people, look, you know, confidence is very necessary in any establishment. And how do confidence come about?
What type of confidence? Long or short-term confidence?
Exactly. Let's look at the two. I have a factory that I'm operating. Currently, I've seen crisis being having a toll effect on my company. But the question is, what is government doing to ensure that that thing will be nipped in the bud? So as a businessman, if I say that, yes, this is the problem, we have a government that is confronting the challenge, then there's some level of confidence. I know within some few time, that particular problem that we are facing as a country will be over. But where you don't see the government doing anything to solve the problem, that is where the problem lies. But for me, I believe that people have confidence in the government, especially with the sort of measures.
I would want to know whether sometimes you find it very hard in terms of you struggle to try to put this very communication across. But before I get down to no, it's okay. Let me just ask you. You know, when you were making the first submission, in many of the issues that you were raising, you seem to have been mangling everything together. Right. But the point is, when we don't address the long term, the medium to long term, ultimately we don't tend to have a certain target for the future. Yes. And the future could be the immediate future or the long-term future. Yeah. Do we think we want to eat our cake and have it now and then get to face the same struggles 5-10 years down the line? If I make analysis
Roland,
of what you said, that's what you mean.
Roland, I am simply saying that we do not have a long-term problem. We have a short-term problem.
What?
Yes.
That is what I am saying.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
That this country does not have long-term problem. The government has determined that in the long term, they want to have 5,000 megawatts. In the next 10 years, they have put their plans in place. Work at that. As we are talking about 5,000 megawatts, we do not need 5,000 megawatts for this country to run. We need just 1,900. That's what I'm saying. And we have an installed capacity of 2,850. The 12 plants he's talking about that are sitting in Tema that can supply you 125 megawatts. Put crude in them, they will run. So solve the long-term, short-term problem. They should stop confusing us. There's no long-term problem when it comes to generation. We are talking of this country not consuming more than 1,900 megawatts of electricity. We have 2,850 available. And we are talking about 5,000. Why is the problem? The government is creating a problem that does not exist. This is all I am saying.
In a situation where our finances are not good, of course, caused by governments in itself because of its perhaps non-prudent management of its own fiscal policy. But then these are the confrontational difficulties we have. We need to confront them head on, don't you think?
Yes,
head on.
Yeah. And so then if you agree, why don't you go take money, go and buy crude? Once you know ultimately you could somehow invest in the long term to medium to long term into a facility that ultimately could provide you a lot more relief. Why do you need to go buy expensive crude?
Expensive crude, that was in 2012, 2013.
We do understand. But
it has now become so cheap that they are
what now? That was just recent. Long ago, that was not what.
So what is the government doing about it? He is a government representative.
Okay.
What is the government doing about the fact that crude has fallen from $120 a barrel to about a third of the price. And the estimation is that it will go even further down. Okay? And I'm saying that if I was in the quagmire that the government is, and that, thank God I'm not the president, I will tell the BDCs, you are telling me that you have accumulated costs over the last 2-3 years, okay, and I should pay. Fine, thank you very much. I intend to pay that money. This is a payment plan. But for crying out loud, I am not going to sacrifice the economy of Ghana because of a debt I owe you. Go and bring me more crude. There is more money now because the price has cut down. Because, watch this. The government in their hedging, I think hedge around between $88 and $90 a barrel.
Are they still hedging?
Yes, they are. They are. Now, even with the government's own hedging policy,
There are still windfalls.
there are still windfalls of over $50 a barrel. We would use that to ensure the plants are running. Look, Asogle, they are saying Asogle is now on some 30 megawatts they are producing. From 250, it's running on gas. West African gas pipeline. We were being promised that if Atwabu comes online, 150 million cubic feet will be provided a day. We have finished that, and now it is shifted to March. The story keeps running. You cannot run an economy based on propaganda. And I'm saying that if I was in that situation, I would simply give a solution. Hold on to your debt, provide me more crude, let the economy run, let that windfall from the economy be used to pay your debt, the debt. But now government is sacrificing this whole economy for some 10, 15 people who are BDCs, bulk oil distributors. Why? Because they have a cut in it or what? Oh. You should be telling us.
Chief Loss, it seems government finds itself in a catch-22 situation, more like a chicken and egg situation, in which there are statutory payments to be made and financial obligations that government is not even able to meet. Revenues are so low, they are high, but just don't meet our expenditure in many respects. So as a result of that, we need to make a number of sacrifices. Is that what is putting government in this very dichotomy or quagmire?
Oh, I don't believe that is the main reason. Whatever resources...
Because we have difficulty with our finances, Chief Loss.
Yeah, whatever resources we have as a country needs to be used judiciously, equitably. But where you have challenge, you make sure you put in more resources just to ensure that that particular challenge can be mitigated. And that is exactly what the government is doing.
Why is government not then reducing crude?
Why is
government then not reducing the, for example, the sale of the prices of petrol, for example?
No, government has given its decision on that. Now look, when the prices were very high, we were using resources that needs to be used in developmental activities.
They were subsidizing.
We were using it to subsidize.
And so we have now a pile of debts.
Yes, exactly. And now that there is a shortfall, let us use what we are getting from the that's the windfall, to offset some of the debts that we are owing as a country. And I think it is a very prudent measure because, one, government has a responsibility to ensure that the lower class, at least social services, are provided. And government cannot sacrifice a windfall from something that it gets a lot of revenue to subsidize the rich. I don't think it is a prudent measure. If I were the president, I would take the same decision. Because I need to do things that will support those...
Invariably, you are thinking that those who tend to utilize fuel are the rich. But you forget that ultimately the various channels of the economy also tend to rely on on price stabilization of
relatively fuel. The benefits goes to those in the higher class
who could have afforded it.
Exactly.
I get your point.
No,
why is government due to the perhaps reduction of crude oil in the international market then not trying to invest in crude oil to power our generational plants? Because really we have the capacity.
Excuse me, that is not the problem now. Is that the problem? That is not the problem now.
What's the problem?
The problem
Well,
is
we have to rely on gas because we don't want to buy fuel.
the problem is
The
that,
facilities we have, you do agree that we can use crude.
but you know, most of our facilities are down.
Some.
Yes,
But we still have enough install capacity.
The question is, they are down. Okay?
We still have more than enough install capacity. That's the whole point.
And those equipments needs to be rehabilitated.
That's a good argument.
And when rehabilitation is going on,
according to the energy experts and also from VRA and GridCo experts, we still have enough install capacity. The point is that we need crude to fuel some of those machines. But we don't want to invest in crude. Is that not it? Because it's not a prudent fiscal measure.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are agreed to
but
that.
at the end of the day, when you don't do that, your economy is running down in the short term.
Well, we are looking at the medium to long term. That is the most important needs of the country as of now, for me. Because if you are able to do that, then there's going to be stability for a long period of time. Why should we as a country, looking at our rate of growth, do short-term things? It will not help us. So for me, any prudent thing that we need to do is to look at the medium to the long-term measures. And that needs heavy investment. And that is what we should go for.
Well, Richard, from all that he's saying, it's a matter of Ghanaians or the citizenry sacrificing, and also a matter of priority. And as a country, not a priority for government necessarily, but what do we prioritize? Do we want to have energy in 10 years, or we still want to find our situation being the same as it is currently within that period?
Roland, with all due respect, do you believe what he is saying?
Which of them?
All that he has said, do you believe?
No, he says
in the first place,
that's their policy objective.
We have not been paying any subsidies since 2014. And you heard the Minister of
Well,
Finance.
we do understand that.
Yes. We have not been paying any subsidies anymore. The government has not been doing subsidies.
But before then, there's debt.
You brought, hold on.
And the debt is in excess of 10 billion. 1.5 billion we're talking.
Roland.
Yes, sir.
The government came and told us that it is not feasible for them to continue to subsidize crude.
Exactly.
You took the subsidies off. Supposed subsidies. Now, if you take a gallon of petrol or diesel, it is the most taxed commodity in this country. How do you tax a product and you tell me that they are saying product, they are subsidizing it? You have taught recovery levies, what do you call it, GMPC levies, all sorts of taxes. By the time you finish, about 70% of the price of the product you are buying is due to taxes. Oh, no. And then you come and tell me that the world prices of the product has reduced, but you maintain the prices or the taxes on it. You would also not reduce it in accordance with the world prices. And his issue about long term, is it medium term to long term? Yeah. Point is, do we have a medium to long term energy crisis in this country? We don't. We have an immediate energy crisis. So if any government has any seriousness,
that is why you plan to fail.
Yes.
If you are thinking of today,
you see, the problem is that there is no problem.
There's a problem.
But you see, but for the government to be able to confuse you and I, they will say that we are planning for 10 years. We are planning for 10 years with 5,000 megawatts. I have indicated. You have almost 3,000 megawatts available, which is more than you need. The thermal plants, he's saying that are toys and all those things. They have even bought extra ones that are based in thermal, that need crude oil to power them. The T3s and the Abuazi terminal plants, they are all there. You are refusing to buy crude to run them. And the point is that I think the government is not able to analyze the effects of this doomsaw on the economy and on the lives of Ghanaians. So they think that we can hold on. The president has been giving us the excuse he's given us for the past 4 years. So if in 4 years is not medium term, 4 or 5 years is not medium term, when will be medium term and when will be long term, in your estimation? Since 2011, the president has been telling us doomsaw will stop. Then the following year to stop, it got to 2014, he said, I will stop to promise on doomsaw. And on the eve of Christmas, what did he do? He went and prophesied. Of all the promises, the bigger one. Because when a prophecy is made, it is from the mouth of God. The president went and stood in the house of God and promised and actually prophesied it will stop. Only to turn around and say that no. That tells you the confused state. But if anybody was to be able to put value, and that is the responsibility of the government, value on the economy, that Ghana is losing at least $1 billion a day as a result of power crisis, then they will see the crisis aspect of it and the need to resolve it. But unfortunately, it's business as usual. They have power generators in their houses to run. Okay? Look, Honorable is saying that fuel benefits the rich. And you know why he's coming to that conclusion? Because he thinks the majority or the bulk of fuel is used in cars. I'm sorry. That is not the case. Private cars, how many private cars do we have in Ghana? How many? Not up to 500,000. How much liters of fuel do they use? The major businesses in this country, when you take Aluworks alone, how much it takes, Gasem, and all those businesses, they consume energy. They consume the power. So when yes, petroleum products, let me tell you, because there's a disconnect. If you use there's a connect. No, there's a disconnect in their thinking.
Okay.
Because theirs is that when we buy the crude, we'll process it and give it to private car owners. And I'm saying that if you put it in the power plants to run, the majority of it, Aluworks will be back and working. The Gasems will work at full capacity. And all those big major businesses would have the capacity and run to generate the economy.
Point has been made. Please wrap up for me on this very subject. And
well,
is
for
this
me,
a reaction
for me,
so that we move on to the next
taking
subject.
a very bold step. The people of this country needs to support His Excellency the President in ensuring that our power generation needs are met, not only for today, but for the future of this country.
Okay.